All right, ladies and gents, how's it going? We have UFC 276 fight week this week. Super excited, super stacked card, of course. In the co-main, which is what I'm going to be talking about in this video, Max Holloway, my man, versus Alexander Volkanovski. 3, Izzy Cannonier in the main event. Sean O'Malley, Pedro Munoz are fighting. Robbie Lawler is going to be fighting on this card. Strickland versus Pereira, another great fight, potentially number one contender fight. Super stacked card. So I'm obviously very excited. But I'm going to be focusing on Max Holloway, of course, in this video, and why I'm slightly concerned for him in this fight. I am a bit worried about him. Now, before I actually get into the reasons as to why I'm kind of worried about him, like the video if you end up liking it and subscribe for more content similar to this. And so before I get into some of the reasons I have and some of the other stuff I want to talk about in this video, let me just say this. Max Holloway is probably one of, if not my favorite fighter who's currently fighting in the UFC right now. He's in my channel art. I just love the guy, his fighting style, attitude, inside, outside the cage, everything about him, personality. Huge fan. One time when I was in Hawaii, I was visiting, I was thinking if I should show up to the gym that they train at and see if I can get an autograph or something. But I was like, man, I don't know. They might think I'm weird or something and tell me to screw off. So I never ended up doing it, but might do that next time I go in the future. Who knows? The reason I'm saying that is because I don't want people to think that I'm biased against Max or anything. The reasoning for making this video. If anything, I'm usually typically biased towards Max. Which I can't help it, right? Everybody has their favorites. No matter how objective you try to be, you're going to be biased towards some people, right? Whether it's in music artists, athletes, fighters, friends, whoever. For me, Max is obviously one of my favorites, so I'm typically biased towards him. Now, that being said, that should show you that I'm not making this video with some sort of hatred or malice or anything like that. One of the big things about me right now that I'm just waiting, because I know the day is going to show up for Max, and I know a lot of people talk about it, but you know how we talk about champions? You fight for a long time, one day they're just going to show up off their game or against someone who has their number, bad style matchup, maybe they're injured in training and they just don't show up 100%. You know how the longer reigning there's more tape on the champion for people to study. The longer reigning you are, it's going to happen. I've been watching for over a decade now, and it's just time after time again. It doesn't matter who you are, somebody's going to get you at some point. For me, the concern with Max is the damage. And again, I know that people have talked about it a lot, but I know one of these days he's going to show up in a fight and he's going to look totally different. And I don't think that's going to be a function of him just naturally exiting his prime or anything like that. I have a feeling it's going to happen sooner rather than later. In fact, if you think about it, there's actually people who believe that Max's last fight against Yair, I don't want to actually play the clips because I know UFC's super anal about this type of stuff now. There's actually some people out there who believe that Max's last fight against Yair, he wasn't actually, Yair didn't shine. It was actually that Max showed up older. There's actually some people who believe that. Now, I'm actually the person who thinks that. By the way, really good interview with Luke Thomas and Max Holloway here on the Morning Combat channel. Really enjoyed this interview. So shout out to those guys. I'm actually one of the people who believe that Yair did overperform relative to our expectations. At least that's what I want to believe. There's part of me that's honestly, I have to be honest that I want to believe that as well. It's not just what I think. But let's just be real. I feel like if anybody in the featherweight division, if you just stand with Yair right now, even if it's Alex Volkanovski, if you don't mix in grappling, you're probably going to get chewed apart. Whether it's Volkanovski, Ortega this weekend, whoever, you're going to get chewed up if you don't fight smart against Yair. I think that's what that showed me against him. But again, the concern I have is the amount of damage he took in that fight. We'll find out this fight if Max showed up old in the Yair fight, because that's going to carry over to this one and be added on because of the amount of damage he took. Just think about it. The Yair fight, a lot of damage. The Cater fight, even though he unloaded a lot of damage, he did absorb a decent amount of strikes. the Ortega fight, the Dustin Poirier fight, the fights with all those. He took some big shots in those ones too. He didn't really take big shots in the Volkanovski fights, which is good, but the other ones he took a brutal amount of damage. And the Poirier fight is still one of the fights I watch, which I just cringe when I watch, even more than the Yair fight, because it was just, it's too much. It's just too much damage, to take that much damage. Um, I'm worried that what if this is the fight that he shows up older, and what if this is the fight that when he goes into it, um, looks a little bit slower than usual. The punches sting a bit more than usual. He gets tired a little bit quicker. Every time he gets hit with a punch, he flinches and backs up, and has to take a little bit longer to reset. He can't exchange in the pocket as well because the punches are hurting more, and damaging more. I am, that's big concern for me, and I don't know if this is gonna be the fight. And not only that, I do think that Alex, even though I think that the Korean Zombie is a matchup that was very, very favorable towards Alex, I will say it does seem like Alex is getting better and better, which only makes sense. Every single camp, as long as you keep working at it, you're going to get better. By the way, Max Holloway would smoke Korean Zombie as well. Let's just be real, just the style matchup. He would beat Korean Zombie pretty bad as well. But Alex did look really good in the fight. And I'm not one of those people who's just going to solely look at their past performances to judge. Because if you do that logic, you can easily just look at the Cater fight. If Max was coming off the Cater fight, Alex was coming off the Ortega fight, and then they fought, more people would be favoring Max to win. Because again, you're in the eyes of the public, you're only as good as your last fight. So I'm not trying to use that. I'm just being objective that Alex does seem like he's getting sharper and sharper a little bit. He's proved has proved he has iron will like he did against Ortega. But my concern again is just the amount of damage that he took. It is a big concern. Now, let me just say this too, okay? In terms of the way I think that the key to victory is, by the embedded is out as well. Some cool stuff on here. I think one of the ways that you could say the key to victory in this fight is, one of the things I took away in that morning combat interview with Luke Thomas and Max, I don't think that he was hinting that he has to make this a dirty fight to win. And I'm also not somebody who thinks that making it a brutal, dirty fight is Alex's weakness, because I think he showed in the Ortega fight that he has enough willpower and heart to survive brutal situations in fights, like those 2 submission attempts. So I don't think it's as simple as that. However, I do think that Max, I think in this fight, much easier said than done. Much easier said than done, because Volkanovski is not someone who's just going to go stand and train in the pocket, and he's not somebody who's just easy to land on. I do think that Max is going to be thinking, okay, I'm willing to eat a bit more shots to get in if I have to. I am willing to do that, and I think that he's going to try to do more clinch work against the cage to try to win rounds like that. I think those are the 2 things I'm going to be watching for in this fight. I think he's going to think, okay, Alex is probably going to try to intercept me every time I try to come in. Excuse me. But I need to try to take some of the shots and just land some and try to wear him down like that. And maybe lure Alex into a brawl, which, again, very, very hard to do. Much easier said than done. Because Alex can just intercept when Max comes in and move out of the way. He's very good at doing that. So there's that factor. And then I think the clinch against the cage is going to be a very big factor. I think that this fight, a lot of clinch work from Max, with the potential of trying to mix in takedowns to try to steal rounds. Because the one other thing he realized, I think he mentioned in the interview with Luke, is that he kind of recognizes that Alex does have a style where he can, hit and move and just take rounds like that. So I think he recognizes that he needs to do that too. So of course, we'll see what happens, and I'm very, very 50-50 on this fight. I do, again, my only concern with Max is the amount of damage he might take, and that also, Volkanovski is just very, very good too. So those 2 things is why I'm kind of concerned in this fight. if I didn't see the Yair fight, I do think I would have been leaning more towards Max. But because of the Yair fight and the amount of damage he took, I'm just concerned that maybe this is the fight he's going to come in and just show up old. I don't know. It's going to happen at some point. So I'm just concerned in that regard. Um, and I am too scared to make a pick, yes. So don't shoot me up for that. If Max loses this fight, by the way, I believe that he will be moving up to 155, which is not easy because, of course, he needs to bulk up for that, which that's not. I know a lot of people, I saw a lot of people saying, like, oh, if Max just moves up to 155, he just needs to bulk up and increase his power. And that, yes, in theory, that is true. But then at the same time, he has to do it in a way which is not going to take away from his style that he's developed for, a decade in the UFC, just that high volume, high cardio style. If he adds a lot of muscle, that can take away from that, right? So I don't think it's as simple as just bulking up so much, even though that would help, but then that's going to hinder the style that he's used to. And then what is he going to do? Create a new style where he's like, okay, I can't really go hard 5 rounds anymore. So now I got to kind of change it up. Like, that's going to be tough too. I don't think it's as simple as that. I think 155, I think him and his team will know much better than me. But I don't think it's as simple as just bulking up. I think he does have to bulk up, but I don't think he can bulk up that much without losing what makes him good. Although I would like to see Max and Charles fighting, and that would be interesting. I think I'm not saying that Max should definitely win that, but I think that would be a brutal, brutal, brutal fight for both of them. But that would be interesting. And I think for Alex, if he wins, I think that he should be allowed to go up, depending who wins against the Yair and Ortega winner. If Yair smokes Ortega, okay, you can maybe just do Alex and Yair next, depending on the timeline. If Ortega wins, then not. Just if Volk wants to move up, I think you should let him move up and give him an immediate title shot. But a lot of it depends on the timeline too, because in Islam and Makhachev we don't know when they're exactly going to fight. Dennis kind of said he wanted to do the Beneil Islam fight, but I think now they're probably just going to do the Islam Makhachev fight. The Islam versus Oliveira fight. So we'll see what happens with the timing, because I don't know how long Alex is going to sit around and wait. A lot of the sport is just about timing, right? Like Dana always says, it depends on the timing, depends how the guys feel, how they come on the fight, what's going on. So those are my thoughts as to why I have some concerns about the Max Holloway fight. Like the video if you like it, and subscribe for more content similar to this. I will catch you guys later. Peace.